Hello, everybody. I don't have a game for you today, but I do have a concept that I've been mulling over that I want to share with you and see if you guys come to the same conclusions that I have of where the concept has taken me. Using this YouTube channel and recording my previous games and documenting them, I've noticed a rise in my losses based on poor fundamentals. My poor fundamentals or my fundamentals in general were created because I had the presence of mind to create them and reinforce them and think about them. Now that I've stopped thinking about them, they have popped back up and I've started losing to them again. Examples are proximity of caster to my front lines that creates assassination opportunities, or not having scenario pressure, and so my opponent gets more ground or gets more control points than I do, and they win on turn 7. Or just a bunch of little things like that I'm losing games for that I don't need to lose games for. So I've thought about that, and I've thought about that concept, and it's kind of led me into an analogy with basketball, because there's a big difference between, say, real sports that have professional athletes and esports and everything that is monetized. There's a big difference in how people approach those types of games compared to Warmachine, which isn't really monetized, and even the top level players are playing for fun and a social aspect, and because they love the game and they love the hobby side of it. There's many different reasons of them, but it's not for money. It's not that driven. I mean, a lot of it is competitiveness to be driven to be the best, but it's not like a breeding ground of competition like, say, League of Legends or basketball or soccer. And some of the differences between professional sports and Warmachine is that we go out and we play games, and that's how we learn. We learn from these 2-hour games and where we make little tiny mistakes and we lose the whole game. Professional athletes don't lose whole entire games on little tiny mistakes. They have practices where they go and they fine tune these fundamentals and develop and build these fundamentals so that they don't make mistakes when game day rolls around. They're able to figure out what is important in their game, what they are weak on, what they need to develop, and how to be better than their opponents. Now we go out and we play a 2-hour game, an hour of setup or drive time or whatever it is, hour of teardown, some talking afterwards. We invest this massive amount of time into a game where there's many different things happening, and we're expected to learn all these fundamentals with two or three games a week. It could be years before these fundamentals are developed. It could be massive amounts of time before. I mean, how do we even know if our greatest players right now are anywhere near their peak? How do we even know what Warmachine greatness is if Warmachine all of a sudden became monetized like basketball or soccer or League of Legends or something like that, and there was the professional players that would make a career out of this, and they were playing every day, and they were actually doing practicing and drills and setting up situations and learning to play very quickly, and basically able to do 2 and 3 minute turns where all they did was move and roll dice, like just complete instinct. I mean, can you imagine the level that I don't feel like any of us are reaching towards? And I'm not saying that I'm reaching towards that level, but I'm just curious about it. I'm kind of intrigued by the concept. So on those lines, I don't want to, do this all day and do all these millions of little drills and practices, but it is something I'm thinking about. And part of that is being able to track and understand what skills and fundamentals are in Warmachine. Because a lot of that is undocumented. You go and you talk with someone on the internet, and they say X is good against Y. And you say, well, I think X can do this against Y. And they say, well, I think Y can do this against X. And you're going back and forth, and you have no table in front of you. And you're both completely in disagreement about it. And there's not really a link there. You can be talking about the exact same matchup, and because of different experiences and different player skills, and different metas and so many different factors, you can come to completely different disagreements. And I feel like the fundamentals haven't even been discovered and developed in this game yet. But we know the really good players have them. We know the really good players can play a game with someone and be like, yeah, that's a really good player. I've heard like Trevor the Great talk about playing Michael Ireland and them just moving things and being like, yep, that's 4 inches, or yep, that's 5 inches, and just knowing. And I'm not saying they're not playing clean, but what I'm saying is they could tell right away that the other player was really good, and they could see their intentions, and there's this just, I don't know what I'm looking for. There's a higher skill level plane though there. And besides Arcane Assist and podcasts, we don't really have, unless we go to conventions, spend all this money, all this time, all this effort getting there so we can get our butts kicked thoroughly, very thoroughly trounced by one of these greater players. It's hard for us to learn and develop. And when we do get trounced and we do get our butts kicked by these greater players that go to conventions all the time and have put themselves through this aggressive learning style and figured these things out, it's hard for us in that one trouncing and that one butt kicking to come away as a better player. One concept will be why we lose, or a couple of little concepts, or maybe we play a great game, but they just play it a little bit better, or they have a little bit better meta list. Whatever it is, it's not enough experience for the amount of time and energy we invest in going to play these games on game nights and when we go to these conventions. In an effort to make this learning faster and grow, I've decided as my first step to start organizing it into a skill sheet. And what I mean by that is just an open Google Doc skill sheet that I will give everyone access to with a link in every video I do from now on. I have a sheet that has all the skills I have been learning in Warmachine. And I'm continuing to add to it. It's a work in progress. I started it last week. Some of them need a lot more explaining, but I don't want to make the skill sheet huge. I don't want people to get lost in it. I don't want to get lost in it. I want to be able to quickly look at it and be able to, after I play a game, like you've seen in the last 2 videos, if you've watched the Crix game and the Abby 1 game, I want to be able to go in there and reference what I did wrong, what I did right, and I want to be able to hold myself to these fundamentals that I'm developing. And if I lose a game and I can't explain why I lost, or I win a game and I can't explain why I won, I want to be able to expand on that, figure it out, and basically develop this checklist of things that I can use to hold myself accountable for. So just to dive in a little bit to this, I don't want to go into a ton of these different things, but one of the big fundamentals of being able to even play this game and hold a candle to some of the greater players out there I've discovered is knowing what their stuff does and knowing what your own stuff does. Aware of the main models and factions, number 1. If you are trying to figure out and play their side of the board and figure out and play your side of the board, you're doing twice as much work as them. The great players know what your lists do. They know how it operates, and they just have to focus on playing against you. They don't have to think about everything, like a whole bunch of stuff. If you've never played against a caster before, you're constantly having to ask yourself, am I safe here? How far can they go? How hard do they hit? What does their list do? I don't remember what all their spell lists again. What's their feat? And if you're ever asking yourself, what's their feat? That's a problem. And sometimes that's just because they're a Dark Horse caster. But if they're playing a Dark Horse caster and they're a good player, there's a reason why they're playing that. And all the tournament-defining winning lists, they start out as a Dark Horse caster until they absolutely trounce everyone through the tournament. And then come to light, and then everyone goes, hey, that's really good. Obviously, because it won a tournament. More than likely, it was just because the player is good, and he's playing something that works. So, whew, that was a lot of talking. These skill sheets include basic understanding of what the win conditions are to pursue. At the beginning of your turn, or even while your opponent is playing, as things start to develop, I want to build an inner understanding of what my win condition is, and I want to be able to quickly switch to it at the right time. And that is something that I have not done well in previous games. Sometimes I've thought I could play on attrition when I should have just accepted attrition was out and started going towards scenario or started going towards assassination. And a lot of these skills aren't quantifiable. I would like to make them quantifiable. I'm still in development on this. If, like in business school, they teach you about SMART goals, the acronym. I don't remember what they all are, but it's specific, it's measurable. I think A is accurate. Yell at me if it's not. I should have looked it up. T is time specific. But I want these skills to be something I can hold myself to, reference after the games. And then eventually, once the skill sheet has developed and gotten better, I want to start doing little drills with myself where I take, okay, Ron and Virus 2 are my main casters, and I've got a problem in Dissolve 2. So I want to actually put specific models out on the board and do little tiny drills, I guess. Like how a basketball player works on his three-point shot or his free throws. I want to do those types of deployments. I want to throw out random terrains and scenarios and quickly figure out how I'm going to play that terrain and scenario and have a plan for all these matchups. I mean, it's different in basketball because there's always a three-point shot. In Warmachine, most of Warmachine is knowing how to handle every single situation that you're in, and whoever has the best way to handle that situation usually wins. Really not that simple, but man, Warmachine is just so complicated. So complicated. Let me know what you guys think. I encourage you guys to please talk with me about it. Hate the concept, love the concept, want to modify the concept, go in a different direction. This is my platform that I want to launch off of and become a better player with, because I focus on different skills and then I forget the ones I already learned. This hopefully will unify everything. Thank you for watching, and enjoy.